Ba ba boom, ba ba boom, boo. Do 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 do.
Danganronpa.
When we left off, we started investigating to figure out who killed Chihiro. And Byakuya is trying to frame Toko, but I am on to him. I am on to this dude. I know what you're up to. Also, this theme is really good. Ding, ding, ding! Hafumi has discovered evidence revealing the identity of the culprit.
I feel as if...
Another stat increase for me. Evidence? Did I already read this? I don't know.
That's it! I'm sure of it!
But I guarantee that what I found will steal the killer's breath from his lungs. Or sure about that.
Well...
Yeah, okay, I already read this dialogue, but I should go talk to him. Wait, why can't I leave? Wait, why can't I leave? Do I need to go in here? Is that in my truth bullet? The stain on the carpet? Okay, so the normal ebooks, the broken ebook, yeah, okay. Well, I got a coin, so I've been forgetting that I can use the tab function to, like, find things to investigate. What is still left for me to click? I've already done this, though. Yeah, okay, that would be great if it would, like, let me leave this area. What? Why can't I leave this room? Leave the room! What haven't I investigated? Where am I supposed to go right now? Spend a lot of time exercising in the girls' locker room, right?
Of course.
I've used it nearly every day since it opened up. Sometimes Tina and I use it together. Okay then, let me ask you something. Do you think the posters in the... Oh, okay, here's what I'm supposed to do. Do you think the posters in the boys' and girls' locker rooms could have been switched?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I can't really say. I never really paid any attention to the posters. I see.
However,
But there is something that's been bothering me about the locker room. You see, I like to drink a little protein coffee every time I finish exercising. We have protein coffee in the warehouse. It's not the highest quality, but I don't have a lot of other options. I mix protein powder with coffee, down a glass of it after exercise. Anyway, the other day, I spilled some on the carpet in the girls' locker room, and it left a stain. What? Wait, what? The carpet stain in the boys' room is... I thought he just moved the body, but is this like... Did all the rooms switch? Or maybe, no, he probably just switched the rugs. Yeah, that makes more sense. Because so that all the blood stains would be in here instead of in the other room. Huh.
of course.
I can only assume someone came along and cleaned it up. But still, isn't it unusually clean? Since there was never a stain here to begin with. Except for the blood, of course. Here we go. There we go. Now we can. Whoa. Q and E can switch rooms. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it says it right there. Q and E next to the room name. That's interesting. Okay, so there we go. Now I can like get to the places I need to go right away. Alright, where's the warehouse? That's where I want to go. Well, that's a lot faster. Since I can warp all around the Celeste, what are you doing here? This warehouse is amazing. It has absolutely everything one might need to live a full life. From food to clothes to towels, there's an endless supply to choose from. I see that, but have you found anything related to the case?
Most
I knew
unfortunate.
you were going to ask me that. I thought talking about the warehouse itself might misdirect you, but I see it was pointless. Classic Celeste. Very well, I will tell you and only you. Oh, you did
Actually,
find- last night, I saw her here. Chihiro was in the warehouse. Yeah, I saw her here. So what?
Indeed.
So, this was right before nighttime.
hmm?
Yeah, I saw her here too.
What are you doing out this late?
Oh, I was just...
Are you planning to go exercise, perhaps?
What? How did you know?
Because I can see a blue track jacket sticking out of that duffel bag you're carrying.
Oh, you're right. Thanks. Well, I'd better get going. I'm kind of in a hurry.
She stuffs the jacket into her bag in a hurry. It was almost like she was trying to hide it. And just like that, she was gone.
Yes,
I
indeed.
assume she was merely stocking up to go exercise in the morning, but it would appear she ignored the nighttime rule and headed directly to the girls' locker room. She had not broken our rule. None of this would ever happen. You get what you deserve, I suppose. Alright. There was no trace of the track jacket or duffel. Alright, well we don't have any solid leads right now, so we're just gonna kind of wander around and see what there is to do. Let's go talk to Aoi, dude. Aoi. How do you actually say that name? Like, Aoi. I mean, I could just say Tina, but I kind of like Aoi. Or I like her first name better. Oh, Hina. How's Toko doing? Same as before. She won't come out. She just keeps mumbling something about Genocide Jack. So I just left her. Left her? My head was all swimmy, and I was getting pretty hungry.
Yeah!
Oh, but don't worry. I'm gonna head back as soon as I'm done eating. Toko's not exactly pleasant, but I'm still worried about her. Speaking of which, what are you eating?
Huh?
A donut, of course. Of course. There's two things I'm sure God created. Outer space and donuts. Really? I bet Chihiro would have liked to eat more donuts. Maybe that was her one big regret. Aw, I should have tried to spend more time with her. Come to think of it, who did she spend time with?
Well...
Yeah, she was a little bit strange. Didn't really hang out with the other girls much. It was like she was trying to keep her distance from us. Actually, Sakura said something similar. She said that even though you and her invited Chihiro to exercise with you, she always refused.
Yeah, totally.
Yep, it's true, and it wasn't just us either. It was like she stayed away from all the girls. Was she just shy? I don't know. She talked to the boys all the time. Isn't it kind of weird to be shy around your own sex, but totally fine with the opposite sex?
Ah!
Is she like a lesbian or something? Maybe? She's like not comfortable around women? I don't know. She's like, but like guys shouldn't care. Oh wait, maybe she was used to guys spoiling her. The law says you can't judge a book by its cover, right? Yeah, or maybe she was just a thought. Be gone, thought! You think so? I never really saw her as that kind of girl. Fun fact, the guy in the Be Gone Thought video went to my high school. I knew him, I was friends with him. Is there anyone in the kitchen right now? Somebody took the Genocide Jack case file. Frickin' Byakuya. Where is that boy? Where is that boy? Switch the chords! No, the extension cord. Oh boy, oh boy. Really? Huh. There's no extension cord here, huh? Interesting. Ding dong bing bong, my friends. Ding dong bing bong.
I'm getting tired of waiting. Shall we just plunge right in?
Yo, it's trial
the
time.
moment you've all been waiting for. The class trial. You remember where to meet. Please go through the red door.
Alright, let's do this. The red door is right through here. Ahem! So is everyone ready to... What? Am I blind, or are we missing someone?
Yo.
Yo, yeah, Toko's not here. And Toko is... You really don't remember?
Come on!
Kidding! I'm just kidding. How could I forget that little nut job? She's a crucial part of the class trial this time.
What are you gonna do?
Okie dokie. I'll go ahead and drag her out here, kicking and screaming! Just one moment, please. And just like he said, a few minutes later, he reappeared, dragging Toko behind him. I told him I didn't want to, but he forced me. I can't believe he would drag a girl around. Terrible! You're terrible! So now everyone's here, right? Okay then, hustle on to the elevator and let's get this show on the road! I'll see you guys down there.
Let's go.
So, shall we get going? It's time to find out who killed Chihiro. Chihiro Fujisaki. He's so gentle, so calm and meek. Nobody had any problems with her. Someone made the choice to kill a girl like that. And that murderer is one of us. Someone standing right here. We have no choice, right? Yep.
It's true.
Yeah. I gave a small nod and reply. One last deep breath. I walked towards the elevator on a shaky leg. Each step forward, I could feel my heart growing faster and faster. As soon as everyone was on, the elevator began to descend into the depths of hell. Oh, I couldn't get a handle on my emotions. Couldn't stop speculating. Yeah, this time we don't have Kyoko to walk us through the trial. I mean, Byakuya is gonna try to push his theory, quote unquote. But we know the truth about him, or maybe we don't. Maybe it wasn't him. But I really think it is. What do you think? I redecorated! Isn't it so fresh? Isn't it so exciting? Don't waste our time. Let's get this over.
Very
Good. Y'all rip raring to go. Gotta say, I don't hate it. Not at all.
well.
Okay then, let's get this show on the road.
Thrills,
Everyone.
kills!
Everyone, please find your assigned seats. No more voice acting for you. Chuck Batman, the game will do it for you. Haha. Boom. I'll just overwrite an old save file this time. Class trial. Alright.
Let's begin with a basic explanation of the class. If
Yeah,
you can
I
figure
already-
out, then I'll...
I already
Oh,
know this.
let's...
First, we have to make clear what was used to deliver the fatal blow.
Chihiro's fatal injury. It appears it was a head wound.
Yeah.
According to the Monokuma file, the killer used a blunt instrument. But what kind of blunt instrument could it have been?
Easy. It's the dumbbell. The dumbbell. You think you have some proof that contradicts what I said? I need to think about it. Wait, what? Hello?
Chihiro's fatal injury.
How do I fast forward again?
It appears it was a head wound.
According to the Monokuma...
How do I fast forward again? Concentrate soda. Okay, yeah.
What kind of blunt...
I bet it was an iron pipe.
Okay.
That certainly would make for a power...
Poor Chihiro.
Chihiro's, it appears it was...
According to the Monokuma file, what kind of blunt instrument could it have been?
I bet it was an iron pipe.
Incorrect! Incorrect! Your opinion is wrong! Read!
Can we agree that the object that dealt the fatal blow was the dumbbell? Found at the scene of the crime. It was covered in blood. And there was nothing else at the scene that could have caused that kind of injury.
See, Hiro would know that if he ever actually did any real investigating and didn't just stand around trying to pretend that nothing is going on.
And the wound on the victim's head is consistent with the shape of the dumbbell. As far as I'm concerned, there's no mistake and no room for doubt on this one.
Thanks, girl.
You
You're second best.
Looked at her head wound?
Well, yeah.
That's so creepy!
Why is this creepy? We're investigating a murder.
If you don't mind, I will
Thank you.
proceed from here.
Yeah.
Let's move on to discussion of the
Of
culprit.
course he's gonna fear the everything,
Although,
right?
I believe the criminal behind this heinous act is already quite clear.
What?
Yeah,
For real?
Yeah.
Chihiro's killer is the fiendish serial killer, Genocide Jack.
Genocide, yeah, okay. Did he really kill Chihiro? Sure, I guess. This debate, lines of white noise will appear to disrupt your reaction. Oh, okay. So now I have to block obstacles. Attach the silencer. What the frick is this, dude? Okay, alright. If your action difficulty is set to gentle, white noise won't appear at all. So that's easy though, right? I mean, I certainly didn't set it to gentle. Genocide Jack.
The culprit is Genocide Jack. I'm sure of it. Case closed, as far as I'm concerned.
But that's impossible!
Why? What makes it impossible?
Well, I mean, come on! There's just no proof for it.
No, that's wrong!
I mean, the white noise is pretty easy to avoid. It's literally just like flashing purple text that you just have to not shoot.
Might know one reason he could be involved.
What?
I found this file while I was looking around the archive in the library. I guess it's some kind of confidential file the police put together about the Genocide Jack case.
What? That's kind of weird as shit, isn't it? What was something like that doing in the library?
Oh, Mondo, don't ever stop being
The why of it is probably more trouble than it's worth. So let's forget about that for now. More importantly, it outlines all the specifics of every Genocide Jack case in exceeding detail. According to the file, there appear to be two defining characteristics in every Genocide Jack case. The first is that a bloody message is found written at the scene of every murder.
Oh, that's right. Boob lust.
Pafumi, please.
No. It's actually bloodlust.
But more important is the other characteristic, and it's something that has never been made public.
Never made public? What the hell is it?
Why don't you tell them, Makoto?
That's Byakuya smug face, dude. The other characteristic of every Genocide Jack case, which the world at large doesn't know. If I'm not mistaken, it has to do with the positioning of the body. Doesn't that text right there literally just give me the answer?
I got it!
Right?
Apparently, in every Genocide Jack case, the killer suspends the body in a certain way. Other than the killer, the only people who know about this are the higher-ups in the police department.
However, Chihiro was most definitely suspended in the same way. So, how did the culprit know about this when only high-level police officials were aware of it? There's
High-level
only
police
one
officials
logical
and
answer
you.
I can think of.
Anyone
It's
who
because the
read that
culprit
file-
in this case is the real Genocide Jack.
No fucking way!
You're saying Genocide Jack is one of us?
Yes, in fact, it's Toko.
Damn.
What?
Genocide Jack's true identity is Toko Fukawa.
What? Hey, okay, wait, hold on a sec. Toko has like bloodophobia or whatever,
Bloodophobia,
remember?
dude.
What kind?
Is Toko Genocide Jack? The answer is yes and no.
Another riddle? Man, why is this gotta be so complicated?
Split personality, right? Hangman's Gambit. Oh god, I don't like the spelling minigame, dude. H-I. F. Okay, I see a lot of S's. O. So high. Side. So high. Butter's left. Z. I like that the Z keeps popping up. That's interesting. Okay. I don't know, dude. What's another word for like split personality? Like, let me just try a combination. Okay, I missed. All right. Well, there goes. Well, that's great. Maybe the C. Okay, where's the C? Because that could make sense. S-C-H-I. Skid. Wait, and then the Z. Schizo, maybe? Like schizophrenic? What? Hello? Hello? What? Hello? What? Is it not? Okay. Oh, I never got S. Oh, okay. I don't know. S is everywhere, so I just kind of have to assume. Yeah, it's schizo. I don't really. I mean, split personality is.
Now I understand.
Schizophrenia. That seems like a bit of a mistranslation.
Is it because Genocide Jack has a split personality?
Huh?
I think I read that somewhere in the file too. They thought that the suspect might have, what did they call it? Dissociative identity disorder.
I guess they didn't want to make the player spell out dissociative identity disorder, but I mean, could have done like DID. I don't know. Schizo is a weird one to use there.
Okay.
That's probably like
But
a
still,
weird translation
don't
thing.
say that about Miss Fukawa is...
Perfectly acceptable. Toko's strange behavior after seeing the body is proof enough that she has a split personality.
The tongue, dude. Her behavior changed. She fainted. She arrived late.
I got it! You're talking about how she started acting totally different than usual, right?
That's right. Think back. She fainted when she saw Chihiro's corpse, and then, when she woke up...
And then she had a toast like this. That's right! I'm up! Whoa, that's the voice! Hey, are you dead? She must have hit her head real hard when she fainted. remember her saying that. This is quite concerning. I mean, she sounds completely different.
She was acting funny, that's for sure. That melancholy tone of hers completely disappeared.
Don't go assigning adjectives to my tone without permission.
Did you just assume my tone?
Not to mention, once she regained consciousness and saw Chihiro's body again, she was utterly calm.
Utterly calm.
In other words, within her is one personality that can't handle blood, and one that obviously can.
Did he say can and can't in the other order? That's weird.
So when Toko trapped herself in her room, it's because she was scared of Genocide Jack?
You know, they build up Genocide Jack as this legendary serial killer, but then she is just like a teenage girl.
The reason she locked herself in her room wasn't to keep other people from getting in. It was to keep her other personality from getting out.
What?
Toko was afraid. Afraid of the murderous fiend inside of her. Of killing even more people.
How?
Yeah. How can you know all this?
I do believe you misunderstood her. What she's trying to say isn't, how can you know all this? No. What she wants to know is, how could you tell them?
Damn. He's not even, like, trying to sugarcoat the fact that he, like, betrayed her trust.
Last night, just before Monokuma gave his motive speech, Toko and I had a strange conversation. She told me a most interesting story. She said a murderous fiend lived within her, and she was afraid it could appear and attack at any time. And that trepidation is what's caused her to have such a bleak attitude. Isn't that right, Toko?
This is
I mean,
all a lie.
I guess if it really is her,
Right, Toko?
like, betraying her trust is more important than just, like, dying. But, I mean, I also
said you wouldn't tell anyone.
I also think Byakuya is trying to frame her.
What?
So, yeah.
You promised. I can't believe you lied.
You have only yourself to blame. You came to me with your tragic little story. I didn't ask you to.
Dang.
This is the real world, not some romantic fantasy fairy tale.
Byakuya is an asshole.
Besides,
he's a
you broke your promise first.
He's a well-written character.
You said that as long as you were here, no matter what, you wouldn't let Genocide Jack kill anyone. But in spite of that promise...
I mean, if she killed, Chihiro, it would be a point. He would have a point. But I still don't think she did it. I'm sorry, I couldn't keep our promise, but don't... Yeah, whatever.
You said if I kept my promise, you would go out with me.
Oh my god.
That's the only reason I promised.
Ugh, idiot.
How many times do I have to tell you? I never said that, but you weren't able to do it. You just couldn't resist that rush you got from killing, could you?
I tried. I swear I tried to control it.
But your efforts were useless. What a disappointment.
I hate you.
Well, the opening act is nearly finished. All that's left is to hear from the person in question directly.
The person you don't mean.
Toko's body suddenly lunged back. Oh boy. Down. Oh god.
Well, hello there. Is it me you were hoping
Genocide
to see?
Jill, dude.
What the heck? So you figured it out, huh? Well, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Okay, the tongue is really weird, dude.
I
don't like the tongue thing.
Genocide Jack!
Like
or
before
better
was
yet,
just
let's go
sticking
with
out.
Genocide Jill!
Like before was just sticking out a little bit. That was like alright, but this is like she's got like a.
What the fuck
serpent.
is this?
She's got like a freaking serpent tongue, dude. That is not
Toko,
okay.
what happened to you?
Not Toko. That's a loser name. And what happened is a textbook split personality. So what if one of them happens to be a serial killer? You should turn a blind eye to one's faults.
Oh god. What the frick?
Like they say, sound in murderous mind, sound in murderous body.
This one is so different from the one we've come to know.
I mean, she's not any less annoying. Like, they're both
Yes, well,
terrible.
the world is composed of a front and a back, you know.
Got the tongue.
Just like how every inning has a top and a bottom, or how in the depths of every truth lives a little lie. Behind every dark and gloomy soul lives another that shines as bright as the sun!
This is the murderous fiend genocide Jack? This is beyond insane.
Miss Jack, Jill, can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Some of us think you might be the mastermind behind our entire situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you, I am the mastermind of all masterminds! Just kidding!
Then it's not true.
Of course it's not true! How dare you try to link me to that creepazoid?
I mean, I'm sure you invited her here knowing she was Genocide Jack, just to kind of like spice things up.
And another thing, the police and government and society in the outside world are totally powerless. I mean, they just let this idiotic bloodthirsty maniac go buck wild all over town.
Sure, I'm a bloodthirsty maniac, but life is pain, right? To live is to hurt other people. It's a necessary evil if you want to survive. The act of living itself causes pain for everyone. Just kidding again!
What the frick?
This should be enough to convince you. This murderous fiend is responsible for Chihiro's death. There's clearly a motive, so there should be no doubt.
The motive is
A motive?
crazy serial killer.
Remember what Monokuma told us? If someone didn't murder and graduate within 24 hours, an embarrassing memory or secret would be revealed.
Oh yeah, so there is an actual motive. I
Well,
kinda forgot about
let's
that.
assume that Toko's secret was about Genocide Jack. If a secret like that came to light, Toko's life would have undoubtedly been forever ruined. So she had a very clear motive to never have that side of herself exposed.
Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. But sorry, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm not the culprit.
Oh boy.
But I cannot imagine anyone other than you could murder someone in such a bizarre fashion.
Maybe so, but nevertheless, it's the truth.
Do you really expect any of us to believe you?
Yeah. I could never believe a word you say, you monster.
I believe it. She's totally right, but something's still bothering me. What she said.
Sorry, but I didn't kill anyone.
What? Did you say something funny? Did I?
Shoot!
I did not mean I did. Wait, what? Uh-oh. Have we already come to the end of the debate? Well then, the class trial is officially adjourned. Now it's time to reveal who's the blackest. It would appear that the one with the most votes is Makoto. Wait, what? However, Makoto is not the blackest. Too bad. Okay, is that just like filler text when you game over no matter what? Like, everybody just thinks it's Makoto if he can't prove that it's somebody else.
Is this...
I didn't, yes.
I refuse to give up yet!
When you lose your last card because of accidentally shooting someone.
Sorry, but I didn't kill anyone.
You say that, but do you really expect any of us to believe it?
Perhaps if you had an alibi, that would change things.
Oh, an alibi, huh? Now we're talking.
When you compare your past murders to this incident, the modus operandi matches completely. What more proof do we need? Give it up. you killed her.
Okay, yeah. Okay. You know, they make it really...
Sorry, but I didn't kill anyone!
So what do we like?
You say that, but do
Perhaps if you had an... Oh, an alibi!
When you compare your past murders, the modus operandi matches completely. What more proof do we need?
How did I miss?
Give it up. You killed her.
I totally forgot that.
Sorry, but I...
you say that, but
Perhaps if you had an... Oh, an alibi!
When you compare your past, the modus operandi.
Operandi matches completely.
No, that's wrong.
No, that's wrong! You're wrong! Ha! Well,
Are the
you're gay.
methods of
lol.
murder really exactly the same? I'm not so sure about that. I think there's a slight difference between the Genocide Jack cases and this one.
Huh? How's it any different?
Oh, you don't know? Well then, human garbage, let me tell you!
She's like Monokuma, but not...
I
painted.
murder with passion and conviction. I consider myself a profession.
Wow.
Imagine you go to a... But what happened to Chihiro? It'd be like if that same Italian restaurant started using ragu or Chef Boyardee.
Dude, I'd imagine that analogy was completely different in Japanese. Does Chef Boyardee sell
This
to
is
Japan?
no creation of mine.
Let me rephrase that, in a way that maybe makes more sense. There are two clear differences between the Genocide Jack cases and this one. I got it! For one, the cause of death is... In the Genocide Jack murders, all the victims were killed the same way. According to the case file, they were all apparently killed with a pair of scissors. But Chihiro died from a blow to the head, right?
ah, yes. That is remarkably different from the other murders.
Wouldn't it be strange for someone who kills the same way without fail to suddenly change their method? And there's more. One more conflicting detail.
That's right. In my recipe of murder, if the bloody message is the tortellini, then the arrangement of the body would be the pesto sauce.
Could you please stop comparing killing people to cooking?
Yes, thank you. Thank you,
So,
Hero.
are you saying the other difference has to do with how the body was arranged?
That's right. The second difference is related to how she was suspended. In the photos of the other... Yeah. What was used to suspend?
I got it! Do you remember what the killer
Trial
used to
segments
suspend
are really
her?
not hard at all.
They
They're
used
very
some kind
easy.
of rope to hang her up by her wrists.
What is your point?
The only reason I die in the trials is because of that dumb schizo thing, and like, well, that and just like missing the bullets.
Well,
like, the actual,
in all the
like,
previous Genocide Jack
case-
cases, something else was used to suspend them.
the actual case solving part of it is really not very hard at all.
Specifically, pairs of razor-sharp scissors.
And guess what? I used my own specially designed scissors for the murders and the arrangement. Like I said, I'm a professional, so naturally I'm very picky about the tools I use. And you know what else? Big Mac said there's two differences, but he's wrong.
Big Mac?
Big Mac? Are you referring to me?
Listen up, Big Mac. There's actually one more difference.
Huh?
My word, you really didn't notice? Take a look at who the victims were in each Genocide Jack case. There's a pattern there, just waiting to be discovered.
A pattern?
Are they all men?
Figure that out, and it'll be plain as death why I couldn't have possibly killed that little lolly girl.
Little lolly girl, dude. Well, this is the only one that even makes sense. So, like, see, if this were Ace Attorney, I'd have to kind of check the court record, but, like, none of these even make sense.
I got it! Is it because Chihiro was a girl?
Bingo! Bullseye! Right on the money!
What are you talking about?
So she's an insane feminist. She only kills men.
In all the Genocide Jack cases, all the victims had something in common.
She's not. Ken Harada, 32. I'm not reading those names. I'm definitely not reading those names.
They were all guys?
That's right! The people I killed with such passion and conviction are all adorable little men! I can't believe I said it! I'm so embarrassed!
The hell is wrong with you?
I can't help it! I'm just a full-throttle boy-on-boy fangirl! And the loopy side of me just hates it! But now I'm on the fast track to becoming a full-fledged fan madam!
So since Chihiro was a girl and not an adorable little man, you wouldn't kill
Adorable
her?
little man. It's in quotes, but like he didn't really emphasize.
Would an Italian chef suddenly start making
God,
ramen just
stop
because
making
they're both
freaking-
noodles? Don't be stupid. I have too much passion and conviction to cross that line. That's the absolute reality of a one and only.
Take a drink every time Genocide Jill says passion and conviction. Dude.
We get it. You've clearly explained your hobby and your philosophy. But that's not all there is to it. It's a different matter entirely. When you're forced to kill in order to survive.
Quiet, lowly cur!
Lowly cur.
I would never kill for a reason as petty as mere survival. And if by some fluke I did kill to survive, why would I bother with the message and arrangement? It'd make me the obvious suspect!
That's true.
That does make some amount of sense.
Plus, whatever reason I have for killing, I would never leave out my prized scissors. Who would go out of their way to use a big, stupid, heavy dumbbell?
Maybe you used the dumbbell because you couldn't find any scissors in the school?
Any scissors? I don't just use any scissors. I only use my own set of high-class envy of the entire
Okay,
world.
but are those scissors in the school? That's what we're
Okay,
asking.
whatever. There still aren't any in the school.
Are you sure about that?
Are you sure about that? Genocide John C.
Da-da-da-da!
What the frick? Oh.
She's fully equipped!
That's right! So I can kill anywhere, anytime.
So did Monokuma just like provide her with those?
Why would I resort to dumbbells or rope when I have my trusty scissors by my side? Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong. You can't, can you? Gutter dogs, all of you.
Gutter dog.
Not to mention, I have no clue how to tie a good knot. So rope's totally out of the question anyway.
Killer who doesn't know how to tie a knot. I love it.
I have no idea what's going on anymore. Could such a heinous villain really be innocent?
But the body really was suspended, right? And nobody but the police knew about that.
Yeah. That's why we figured it had to be the real deal and not some copycat killer or whatever.
Unless one person who could have copied the case. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Spin the wheel of people. The wheel selects Byakuya.
Byakuya, it's possible you could have found out. You'd have no problem gaining access to classified government documents or internal police records. Plus, you'd already looked through the Genocide Jack file before this all happened, hadn't you?
Are you saying Mr. Togami did it?
This theme is good too.
Then, the reason he pushed the theory of Genocide Jack being the killer so hard was because he wanted to pin the crime on her.
So, he rearranged the scene to disguise it and make it look like I put my stamp on it. The adorable glasses man was behind it all. Oh, I'm on fire!
Adorable glasses.
Well, Byakuya, what's your response?
I see. So now the suspicion falls on me. Then I must ask, when would you say I began acting suspicious? Surely you must have an answer.
Okay, just because you didn't act suspicious
The way you were acting right before we discovered the body was a little strange.
on the locker room. They're suspicious. Very suspicious indeed.
You wanted to go to the girls' locker room right away, right? But since you're a guy...
I should have naturally thought of the boys' locker room first. Is that what you want to say?
The problem is Byakuya has a planned answer for
The
it.
victim was Chihiro, a girl. Hence why I said we should check the girls' locker room.
Nothing strange about that, I'd say.
On the contrary, There's something very strange.
Okay then. What's so strange about it? Go ahead. Share with the rest of the class.
Oh, so that's like if they contradict. Okay, I see. Make your argument.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body.
Wait, so how do I shoot the, hold it down.
But he was acting weird.
How?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check out the girls' locker room,
You absolutely take it! That's a natural reaction for any guy!
Oh my god.
The victim was Chihiro, who was a girl. So of course I would suggest we check the girls' locker room first. There was no time for pointless distractions. What's so strange about that?
I wish you'd taken me with you.
Shut up.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we...
Wait. Wait.
But he was acting weird... How?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check out the girls' locker room,
You absolutely take it! That's a natural reaction for any guy!
The victim was Chihiro, who was a girl.
What? I held down the left mouse button. What?
shoot!
Work.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body. But he was acting weird...
Okay.
How?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check...
That's a natural reaction!
The victim was Chihiro, so of course I would suggest we check the girls' locker room first.
There was no time. What's so I wish you'd taken me with you.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body. But he was acting weird.
If you're presented with the opportunity... That's a natural...
The victim was Chihiro.
No, that's wrong.
No, that's wrong. The victim was me.
I'll tell you what's so strange about that, because up until we actually discovered the body, we couldn't have known who the victim was. So your claim that you went to the girls' locker room first because Chihiro was the victim doesn't hold up.
I see. That's a good answer, I must admit. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. But your reasoning is still too weak.
Huh?
What's wrong? Is that it? Surely you've got more than that. Go ahead. Show us.
Boy. Got him cornered, but he's acting like it has nothing to do with
What's the matter? You're not finished already, are you? There must be more to it.
There is. I think.
There is more to it. Think about it.
You know, Kyoko could just solve all of these cases herself. I don't know why
We
I'm...
just talked about the differences between this case and past Genocide Jack incidents. The proof you're looking for is hidden in there.
Oh? Proof that I'm the culprit, you mean?
The differences between this case and other Genocide Jack murders. The evidence that proves Byakuya is responsible is simply there.
What? The difference between the cases? You want me to explain it again? When I want to kill, I use my very own special scissors. And I use those same scissors to arrange the body.
But Chihiro was suspended with... It was some kind of rope. Was it not?
That's right! It absolutely was!
Then there must be something very fishy indeed about that rope.
Hey, Byakuya, where'd you get it from, huh?
I'd never seen that rope before in my life.
No, that's wrong.
Break.
Actually, I'm pretty sure you have seen it before. Because, you see, that rope, or should I say, that extension cord?
Dun!
What? An extension cord?
Byakuya, you've used the extension cord in the library more than once, haven't
This
you?
is basically the equivalent of the corner.
And the same extension cord that was in the library all this time went missing after the... And there's no way someone who uses that extension cord as much as you do wouldn't discover that fact.
And Byakuya must be the one who took the extension cord. I can't imagine any other possibility.
That's really what you think? Then your conclusion is something like this? I killed Chihiro in the girls' locker room, then hung her up and wrote that bloody message. I intentionally made it look like Genocide Jack was behind it. Is that about right?
He's doing it again. He's totally calm. Totally unconcerned. As if he's not even involved. Wait. Not even involved.
What's wrong? I asked you if you think that's what happened.
Hell yes, that's what happened. So that's it, right? Byakuya's the killer.
I just noticed how Mondo's collar goes like a foot up his neck, dude.
I don't disagree with not disagreeing.
He kept calling this a game, right? So he'd be totally willing to do something like this to win.
Sorry, but could we hold on just a second? I think we need to talk about this a little more.
Huh? Do we really need to? We've already decided who did it.
I know, but still, there's something that's still bothering me.
Is that right? And what, pray tell, is still bothering you?
Okay, why are you, like, being aggressive? Right now, they're all about to freaking convict you. Why are
I killed her in the girls' locker room, then disguised my crime. Specifically, I dressed it up to make it look like it was the work of a homicidal psychopath.
Why is he not defending it?
What about all that bothers you?
Wait, what was that just now? Something's not right. Chihiro's body was definitely found in the girls' locker room, but does that mean... Can I really just accept what be a... Oh, yeah, okay. The scene of the...
I got it! You say you killed Chihiro in the girls' locker room, right? But are you sure about that?
Well, look at that.
Isn't it possible that the murder took place somewhere else?
How disappointing. What kind of question is that? Even in the world of disappointments, this is a true letdown. She was found dead in the girls' locker room.
Can I set the text
there
to
is
auto
absolutely
anywhere,
no
or is that
question
just a
about
trial?
that. How could the scene of the crime have been anywhere else?
Well, I think it's entirely possible that she was killed somewhere else, then carried there later, along with the rest of the murder scene.
The rest of the murder scene?
Dude, by the end, we're gonna be in this circle. And
That
there's
was
gonna be
awfully
so many,
specific.
like, dead person
Please
posters.
tell me you have a reason for saying all of that.
I believe I do.
Hey, Byakuya, did I just take you off guard? When the story suddenly moved to the crime scene, Byakuya had been so confident up till now. Maybe Byakuya never even realized that the actual scene of the crime could have been somewhere else. Or maybe...
Hey! Don't just move on without permission! What do you mean she was killed somewhere else?
Come on, Makoto. If there's any chance the murder took place somewhere else, let's see the proof.
Evidence is everything. I'm Prosecutor Byakuya Worth. I'm gonna switch between the boys' locker and girls' locker rooms. Alright, the picture. See, like, that bit of text, like, leads me to
The
the
proof
answer.
that she was
It's
killed
really-
somewhere
it's
else
really,
is
like,
the
it's really-
poster that's hanging in each locker room.
It's really easy, like, trial setup stuff. Like, they kind of set you up to make sure you
Your
get the
proof
answer.
Is some posters?
The poster in the girls' locker room was a picture of a big-boobed supermodel. But don't you think that's kind of strange?
Oh, big boob supermodel.
Why would the girls' locker room have a poster like that?
Somebody had a jizzed on it a little bit, dude. Pretty violently.
I bet those massive jugs of hers were totally fake!
Not
Meanwhile,
relevant.
the boys' locker room had a poster of the super popular boy band Tornado. Again, that doesn't really seem to belong in a boys' locker room.
So you're saying that maybe the posters were switched?
Nintendo Switch?
And there's one other thing I noticed about the locker room. You know what I'm talking about, right, Sakura?
You're referring to my protein coffee, aren't you?
Coffee.
Protein coffee?
While I was in the girls' locker room earlier, but I noticed that after the murder, the stain had been totally scrubbed.
No, it's not that the stain was scrubbed away. It was moved. It was moved to... Oh, wait. Here we go. The disappearing... Oh, wait, Frank. Could you possibly have been more wrong? I'm ashamed I wasted any amount of time.
Shoot!
Shoot! Okay, let's try that again. I wasn't paying attention. It was moved.
I got it!
Objection! I got
The
it!
stain on the girls' locker room carpet wasn't scrubbed away.
I probably shouldn't be yelling. It's past midnight.
In fact, I found it on the boys' locker room carpet.
Dun dun dun.
That's definitely the stain from my protein coffee.
My protein coffee.
Then, does that mean that the carpets were switched too? But why would anyone do that?
To move the murder scene from one locker room to the other. It's certainly plausible, don't you think? What? In other words, in order to completely swap the scene of the crime, the blood-stained poster and carpet were moved along with the dead body. By doing this, the killer was able to change the entire room where the murder took place.
I can certainly follow your reasoning, but why would the culprit bother doing that?
To absolve
Huh?
of any guilt.
Why would they go through all that trouble of switching the scene of the crime? Actually, an even bigger question. If the murder did take place in the boys' locker room, then how did Chihiro get in the boys' locker room in the first place?
See what Byakuya should have done?
To get into the locker rooms, you have to swipe your e-handbook across the card reader device.
What Byakuya should have done is just taken the posters and hidden them somewhere. I mean, the coffee stain thing, I just don't think he was paying attention to it. But, like, the posters, he shouldn't have switched them. He should have just ditched them. Because then they would have been like, where's the posters? But it wouldn't have been, like, indicative of it. I mean, unless they found where he hid the posters. He would have always just taken them back to his room and, like, shoved them in a drawer or something.
But Chihiro's handbook should have only allowed her access to the girls' locker room. She had no way to get into the boys' locker room to begin with.
No, she did have a way, and I can tell you what it was.
I highly doubt that.
Shut up! I'm telling you, I know how she could have done it.
Is it really possible? Could Chihiro really have gotten into the boys' locker room somehow?
Ah! I got it! She must have hacked her e-handbook. She was the ultimate programmer, after all. I'm sure that would have been no problem for her. No, I don't think that's it. She used the thing that was in the main hall.
Huh?
What thing?
I wonder what it is.
I'm talking about Leon's handbook, of course. If she had that, she could get into the boys' locker room no problem.
Which one was the broken hand? Very unlikely that Leon.
Is it really? Could Chihiro really?
She must have hacked her She was the I'm sure that would.
No, I don't. She used the thing.
Huh? What the?
I'm talking about Leon's handbook, of
No, that's wrong.
No, that's wrong! Break! Hey!
No, I don't think Chihiro used Leon's handbook.
Why not?
Because Leon's handbook was broken.
Oh. Well, then, yeah, I guess that'd be pretty impossible, huh?
This song has such a great bass line.
I am struck silent by how quickly you gave up.
Silent by how quickly you gave up.
Plus, isn't there a regulation against using someone else's handbook?
Actually, the rule states that loaning your handbook is prohibited. It says nothing about borrowing one. In other words, you could borrow a dead person's handbook all you want, and you'd be safe.
Yup, yup, yup. Hit the nail square on the noggin.
Hit the nail square on the noggin.
Of course, if it were broken, that wouldn't make any sense anyway.
So then, she must have hacked hers, like I said. She used her ultimate programmer skills and...
Psst. You can't fix an e-handbook. The instant you open one up, a security buzzer starts glaring.
So, if she didn't use Leon's handbook, and she didn't modify her own handbook...
Maybe Mr. Naegi's initial assumption is just... wrong?
It seems like there's no way she could have got into the boys' locker room. So I guess so.
Okay then, I vote for Byakuya.
Wait, okay, but if... I mean, no matter what, Byakuya is still getting the vote. I mean...
Hold on a second.
Are we saying Byakuya is not the one?
I agree with you, though. I think you're on the right
Like,
track.
Either way, they think it's Byakuya. Like, even if I don't get this little... Even if they don't get this little room switching bullshit.
What the? You finally decide to open your mouth and that's what you've got to say? There's no way she could get in the boys' locker room, right? So...
Why are you so sure she couldn't get in? There's still one other way she could have gained access.
What?
What are you talking about? What other way is there?
Well, to explain that, why don't we take a little break from the trial? I'd like you all to come see something.
Wait. Just what do you think you're doing?
Don't worry. This'll make the whole trial more exciting. I'm sure that thought must please you.
Huh? It'll make things more exciting? Well, all right then. I declare an official class trial recess.
Huh? For real?
Now then, what is it you want to show us? It better not be boring or I'll be very unhappy.
Oh, I have no doubt it'll meet your lofty expectations. So, shall we go?
So before I even knew what was happening, the trial had been put on hold. Just like Ace Attorney. Where she took us was... the scene of the crime.
The girls' locker room?
We've already searched this place top to bottom! What are you trying to pull, Missy?
I'd like you to examine the victim's body one more time. Be sure to examine the entire body very carefully. Take your time.
Examine the body. You know, I think we're actually gonna stop. I should go to bed. In the next episode, we'll figure out what the secret of Chihiro is. Whatever it is. However she managed to be in the Danganronpa. We've